In Hong Kong, inside a notorious prison known for its harsh rules and constant conflict between inmates, tension fills almost every corner. Yet in the middle of all that, there is one prisoner who seems strangely at ease. His name is Chan, and he treats life behind bars like a temporary stop, almost like a casual layover instead of punishment. He is serving a 3-month sentence for theft, but he carries himself as if nothing can really break his spirit. One day, his mother and his girlfriend, Suet Yi, come to visit him. The bond between them feels warm and genuine, a rare softness in a place built on fear and violence. Suet Yi stays loyal and patient, holding on to the hope that Chan will soon walk out of the prison gates and return to her side.
黐線嘅咩？30幾都唔通着樽領啊？
嗱，嚟緊奶奶咧60大壽，我已經教好晒㗎啦。
邊個你奶奶？
On the other side of this story, a new prisoner arrives. His name is Mak Kin Tin, an architect whose life has fallen apart after he was framed by his own friend in a massive building fire that killed many innocent people. For Kin Tin, prison is not something he can shrug off. It is a nightmare that has become painfully real. Within just one day of entering, he becomes the main target of bullying by senior inmates who see him as weak and helpless in this brutal environment.
離開呢個唔屬於我嘅地方。
Inside the same prison, there is another figure everyone fears and respects, a gang boss named Scar Sek-sun. He is serving a life sentence for murder. The tension in the prison only grows worse when a fight breaks out among the inmates, and the guards are forced to step in. After breaking up the conflict, they issue a strict warning to everyone. Warden Tom is currently chasing a promotion, and because of that, he does not want a single problem under his watch. And from here, everything begins to change. This is Breakout, brothers. The next day, Kin Tin sinks deeper into despair, lost in his thoughts and memories. Chan notices how broken he looks and steps in to encourage him. He shares his own experience of surviving prison life and explains the power struggle that rules everything inside these walls. There are two major forces constantly at odds: the gang led by Scar and the Big Loser gang led by Lam Kwok Lung. Not long after that, Lam is released from solitary confinement, where he has been serving extra punishment. The moment he steps out, his followers greet him with deep respect. Lam is serving a 20-year sentence for a killing that happened during a violent incident. In that incident, Lam and his wife were attacked by several thugs. Lam managed to defeat them, but his daughter was seriously injured, and as a result of his actions, he was sent to prison. Sometime after the earlier incident, Lam's wife delivered news that shattered what was left of him. She told him their daughter had died in a building fire. It was the same fire that dragged Kin Tin into prison. She believed it was not an accident, but an act of revenge carried out by Lam's enemies. From that moment, Lam felt as if his entire world had collapsed. Meanwhile, Chan encouraged Kin Tin to join Lam's gang, so he would no longer be bullied by Scar's group. Kin Tin agreed, and Chan brought him to meet Lam in a small room. There, Kin Tin saw Lam quietly praying for his daughter. Moments later, Chan announced that Kin Tin wanted to join them. But in a sudden burst of anger, Lam struck Chan and brutally beat Kin Tin.
成件箱就係你。哦，你都有留意啊？執嗰張。唔該晒喎。
Everyone who witnessed it was confused. None of them understood why Lam reacted that way. Lam had been living with a deep rage over the fire that took his daughter's life, the same fire tied to Kin Tin, even though Kin Tin had been framed and was never truly responsible. Days later, Suechi visited Chan and told him that his mother was in critical condition due to kidney failure. She needed a donor as soon as possible. Hearing that, Chan begged the chief guard for temporary release so he could donate his kidney and save her. His request was rejected because the chief wanted to protect the prison's reputation and support Warden Tom's push for promotion. Instead of receiving help, Chan was punished and forced to run laps around the prison yard. As he ran, thoughts of his dying mother consumed him. Desperate and overwhelmed, Chan attempted to climb the prison wall and push through the razor wire. A guard stopped him, but fortunately, the guard had a kind heart and chose not to report the attempt. At that same moment, Chan noticed a maintenance worker cleaning a drainage opening. That small detail sparked a bold idea, the possibility of escaping through the prison's underground system. While Chan was trying to hold himself together, Kin Tin was falling apart. He continued to suffer under Scar's gang, both physically and mentally. The torment became so unbearable that Kin Tin nearly ended his own life. Chan arrived just in time to save him. After that, Chan asked Kin Tin to help him plan an escape. Chan believed the drainage tunnel could be the perfect way out. Kin Tin agreed without hesitation. He also wanted freedom and the chance to take revenge on the man who had destroyed his life. Using his architectural skills, Kin Tin began studying the structure of the prison and its security systems. The challenge was enormous. The entire facility was monitored by 120 surveillance cameras, leaving almost no blind spots. Even so, Kin Tin eventually identified a possible escape route through the complex wastewater network. He also planned for them to access the wood workshop that Lam controlled, since they needed tools from inside. But there was a problem. They could not enter the workshop unless Lam allowed it. One day, Kin Tin received a visit from the last person he ever wanted to see. Chi Wing, the man who framed him and destroyed his life, showed up with a chilling warning. He threatened to sabotage Kin Tin's appeal in court, making sure he would never leave the prison. On top of that, Chi Wing had hired Scar to keep tormenting him for as long as he stayed behind bars. The threat pushed Kin Tin past his breaking point, and he swore he would take revenge. The escape plan became clearer when Chan remembered the photo of Lam's daughter he had seen earlier. He asked Suet Yi to investigate the truth behind Lam's daughter, who had long been believed dead in the fire. The results were shocking. Lam's daughter was alive, healthy, and preparing for her wedding. When Chan showed the photo to Lam, it hit him harder than any prison sentence ever could. For years, he had lived with grief, believing his daughter was gone. Learning that his wife had hidden the truth filled him with anger, but it also reignited something he thought he had lost: hope. His life was not completely ruined, and there was still a chance to see his daughter again. With his emotions boiling, but his purpose renewed, Lam agreed to help Chan and Kin Tin with the escape. The three of them mapped out the plan in detail. They would enter through the air vents, reach the electrical room to shut down the lights and security systems, move through the administrative wing, then exit through the wastewater channel. Suet Yi would be waiting outside with a vehicle. When the plan began, Chan tried to remove the bolts on the vent cover, but only one came loose. Kin Tin improvised, melting a plastic bottle cap and shaping it into a makeshift screwdriver. The tool worked, and they managed to open every bolt. But just as they were about to climb in, they heard footsteps approaching. They quickly sealed the vent, stood still, and acted as if nothing was happening until the guards walked away. Once the coast was clear, they moved to the next step, stealing the key to Gate D. The senior guard always kept it hooked to his belt, so they needed a copy. Kin Tin mixed special glue with fine wood dust to create a thick paste that worked like casting wax. The first attempt failed because Chan pressed too quickly, ruining the shape. For the second attempt, Kin Tin faked a sudden illness and vomited on the guard's uniform. Disgusted, the guard rushed to the bathroom, giving Chan the perfect moment to press the mold onto the key. This time, it worked. With the replica finished, they took it back to the vent where the real escape would begin. But once they crawled inside, they realized the passage was much tighter than expected and filled with obstacles. Things became even worse when Scar's gang suddenly ambushed them, triggering a brutal fight. Fortunately, the chief guard intervened in time and threw Scar's men into solitary confinement. After the incident, the prison officials forced Lam and Scar to sit down and make peace to maintain order, but neither man was willing to bow to the other. In the middle of their heated argument, Kin Tin finally spoke up. He revealed the truth that had been weighing on him, that Scar had been taking orders from Chi Wing, the very man who framed him, to keep torturing him until he abandoned his appeal. Scar denied everything, but the chief guard decided the issue would be settled with a one-on-one fight. Since Kin Tin was still badly injured, Lam stepped forward to take his place. The fight between Lam and Scar was intense and brutal. Both men pushed themselves to the limit. But in the end, Lamb overpowered Scar and broke his arm. Scar collapsed and had to be rushed to the medical ward for emergency treatment. Despite the outcome, Lamb, Chan, and Kin Tin were all thrown into solitary confinement as punishment for the chaos surrounding them. Locked in those cramped rooms, the three men finally opened up to one another. Chan shared that he needed to escape so he could donate his kidney and save his mother's life. Lamb admitted that he wanted to see his daughter and explain everything that had happened. Kin Tin confessed that his only goal was to take revenge on Chi Wing, the man who stole his future. They eventually agreed to adjust their plan. Kin Tin would stay behind to avoid suspicion, while Lamb and Chan carried out the escape. In return, Lamb promised to protect Kin Tin from any threats that Scar's gang might pose. Not long after, they started cutting through thick metal bars using a small saw. Their movements caught the attention of the chief guard, who grew suspicious and turned Scar, still recovering in the medical room, into an informant. Scar was instructed to monitor the workshop and report anything unusual. Even with the increased risk, the group pushed forward. When the chief guard approached to check on them, Lamb and Kin Tin worked together to distract him just long enough to keep their secret safe.
Sorry, sir.
Scar eventually figured out that an escape was being planned. He demanded to join them, and when Lamb refused, Scar stole the replica key and threatened to flush it away. With no other option, Lamb and the others were forced to include him. The night of the prison festival finally arrived. The guards and important guests were busy celebrating, which meant security was looser than usual. Outside the walls, Suet Yi waited in position. Inside, Lamb, Chan, and Scar began their escape, while Kin Tin stayed in the open yard to divert attention if anything went wrong. But the chief guard, already suspicious, noticed Kin Tin standing alone with a nervous expression. He immediately ordered his officers to search for Lamb, Chan, and Scar, who were nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, inside the narrow and dark ventilation tunnels, the three escapees crawled as quickly and quietly as they could until they reached the main electrical room. There, they cut the power, plunging the entire prison into darkness. Panic spread instantly among both inmates and guards as cameras shut down and every electronic system failed. In the confusion, the chief guard spotted Kin Tin and accused him of causing the blackout and the chaos that followed. Meanwhile, Chan worked on the final gate, using the replica key they had crafted. Scar ordered Lamb to watch their backs, but Lamb refused to take instructions from someone he had already defeated. The tension between them boiled over and turned into a physical clash. It only stopped when Kin Tin appeared and struck Scar from behind. With Scar out of the way, they finally unlocked the gate and pushed forward toward the wastewater tunnel, the very last pathway to freedom. But when they reached the manhole cover, a new problem hit them. The lid was incredibly heavy and the bolts were rusted solid. Every second counted, and the sound of the guards closing in grew louder and louder. In that desperate moment, Kin Tin made a choice. He ran directly toward the guards, drawing all their attention to himself. His sacrifice bought Lamb and Chan the time they needed. Seeing what Kin Tin had done, Chan forced Lam to go down into the tunnel first, while he stayed behind to delay the guards as long as possible. In the end, out of the 4 men involved in the escape attempt, only Lam managed to break free. Outside the dark perimeter of the prison, Lam was nearly stopped again when a guard caught up to him. But Suet Yi stepped out from the shadows and knocked the guard unconscious, clearing the way for Lam. Together, Lam and Suet Yi rushed to the venue where Lam's daughter was holding her wedding. When he arrived, Lam did not step forward. He stayed at a distance, hidden among the crowd. He wanted to see her happiness without disrupting her special day. Lam's wife spotted him first. Shocked, she approached him and apologized for the years of lies. She explained why she had told their daughter he was dead. She wanted to protect her from the weight of having a father in prison for killing someone. Lam understood, even though the truth broke him all over again. He gave her a sad smile and let her return to the ceremony. When their daughter expressed her gratitude to her parents, still believing her father had passed away, Lam nearly collapsed under the weight of guilt and longing. Before leaving, he arranged a small smiling face made of decorations on a plate, a quiet sign that he had been there. Later, when his daughter noticed it, she immediately understood. Her father was alive, and he had come to see her wedding. Meanwhile, Chan and Kin Tin were rushed to the hospital for treatment. Chan felt nothing but gratitude. Everything he had endured had led to one moment. He finally got the chance to donate his kidney and save his mother's life. As for Lam, he made a choice that surprised everyone. After seeing his daughter safe and happy, he returned to the prison on his own. For him, that brief moment of witnessing her joy was enough. A few days after everything that happened, Chan finally felt a sense of relief. His mother began to recover well from the kidney transplant, and seeing her regain strength brought him a happiness he had been waiting for since the day he entered prison. At the same time, Lam experienced his own moment of peace. His wife and daughter came to visit him behind bars, and for the first time in many years, their relationship started to heal. Even though he remained in prison, he no longer felt alone. Meanwhile, Kin Tin achieved the justice he had been fighting for. Chi Wing's crimes were exposed to the public and the media, and as a result, Chi Wing was sent to the same prison he once used to control from the outside. Kin Tin finally watched the man who ruined his life face the same suffering he once endured. Inside the prison walls, Scar and his gang immediately turned their attention to Chi Wing, intimidating him the way they once targeted Kin Tin. And in that moment, it became clear just how much had changed. Kin Tin, who once entered prison terrified and broken, had now become one of the most respected and feared inmates, known for his courage and determination. So the moral of the story is, if life traps you in a disaster, at least make friends who can build tools out of melted bottle caps, crawl through vents, and still have time for a dramatic wedding cameo.